Rev up your engines!
Well, here we go. The Volkswagen Golf is officially dead in the United States. They're pulling the hatchback out of the U.S. They did last quite some time. It was the 7th generation of Golf sold in the United States. And since 1974, Volkswagen sold 2.5 million Golfs in the U.S. Of course, the later made ones were made in Mexico, quality not as good as the original ones. That's the problem with Volkswagen. They start out with a good thing and then they kind of messed it up. If you remember way back, they were making Volkswagens in Pennsylvania, and they were such horrid pieces of junk that they ended up closing the Pennsylvania factory down entirely and gave up with it. So, I mean, when they were making stuff in Germany, they were making great vehicles, but then they just cheapened their production, and it was a giant fiasco. And originally they were cheap cars, but, you know, the base models are 24 too, so they weren't giving the things away. Well, goodbye to the Golf in the United States. Yeah, the Volkswagens are still real popular in Europe, but in the United States, their popularity is really waning. And I'm assuming that, you know, they're getting rid of these hatches, and they're probably thinking a lot about their electric cars they're going to be making down the road in Chattanooga next year, and other models. The Golf in the United States, hey, it's run its course, and the 7th generation is the unlucky 7 for it because they're not making them anymore here. Ernie Johnson says, I'm looking at a 2018 Mercedes-Benz S450, 15,000 miles. They're asking 61 grand. The wife wants a luxury car. We have a 2018 Highlander, which we're keeping for everyday use. It's your money, but, okay, you're only going to be using that for toy time, right? Why waste $61,000. I've had customers buy those things when they're 8, 10 years old for less than $10,000. Wait till they really depreciate in value and then get one. Because that thing, you might not use it much, but you'll find you paid 61 grand. Let's say you're tired of it in 4 years, you'll probably get 20 or 10 or 15 for it. So let somebody else take that big hit. Don't spend that kind of money on a Mercedes-Benz. It's stupid because you can always get them used, and if it's a toy especially, I have quite a few customers that buy them as toys, use them on the weekends, and voila. They don't put much money into them because they're only driving them a few thousand miles a year. But they're not paying 61 grand. They're buying it for 5 grand, 10 grand, maybe up to 20 grand, but don't pay more than that. Melissa Lynn says, can you please help me? I watched a video on how to bypass my AC compressor. I put a paper clip in a relay, but I did it the wrong way, and the car hasn't started. No fuel pump noise. I've checked the fuses. My car's been down for 7 months now. It's a Toyota RAV4 2003. All right, here's what probably happened. And it's a good reason that if you only have a little bit of knowledge, it can be dangerous, and don't mess with your cars. Make sure you know what you're doing. That's the way to do it. But that said, it's been damaged. Odds are you shorted out the main computer, because on those modern cars like that, the air conditioning system is activated by computers, and generally they're built into the main computer, the powertrain control module, or the ECM. They're both the same thing. Some call them PCM, some call them ECM, but it's the same thing. It's the main computer of the vehicle, and odds are you've fried it. Now, you said you checked all the fuses, but make sure the main computer fuse is okay. It's a little bitty one. It can blow relatively easy. Check that and pray you blew that, because if you didn't, you're probably going to need a new main computer. But at least luckily it's an older one. It's an '03. You can probably find one in the junkyard that's perfectly fine, because rarely do they ever go out in Toyotas on their own. I only see them going out because either people make a mistake like that, or the car's in a wreck and the wires get shorted out, and that shorts it out. So odds are you're going to need a new main computer. Logan Moreno says, I got a question. I got a 2019 Toyota 4Runner TRD with 21,000 miles. I added 35s and a new suspension. I'm adding more weight, and it feels a little sluggish. Should I add lower gears, or should I add a supercharger? I want it to feel somewhat stock but have some more zip, but I don't want to ruin it. All right, put a supercharger on if that's what you want. Changing the gears, that's very expensive, real hassle, and that thing's already pretty well made. A lot of guys wouldn't add it right. It might have problems. The superchargers, cut and dry. Those things have been around for ages. That makes the most sense, because you don't want something that you got to spend a ton of money that's being used all the time, like changing the transmission gear ratios. Supercharger, you can put on whatever you want. Wise Images says, I'm looking at a 3800 V6, 140,000 miles, automatic, 2004 Grand Am. I can get a mechanic to do it for a buyer check. The asking price is $2,000, would offer $14 if it checks out. What you be wary of? Okay, realize it's the Pontiac Grand Am 2004. That was one of the cars that kind of led to the end of Pontiac. They were not that well made. Now, the 3800 engine is a great engine. So, if the mechanic says the engine and the transmission is good, yeah, I'd offer him $1,200 for the thing and see what the guy will take. they're not worth anything per se. So offer as little as possible, but make sure, and I mean really sure, that your mechanic knows automatic transmissions and he checks that transmission out with a fine-tooth comb, because the transmissions on those things were garbage. And if it has any problems at all, don't even think about buying it, because then whatever you paid for it, you're going to pay a lot more than that having the transmission replaced. Just realize that. Packerman521 says, Scotty, I got a 2000 Ford Focus 2-liter with 185,000 plus miles. It's overheating. If it idles too long, it overheats. I have the correct amount of antifreeze, 50-50. I did a coolant flush, replace the thermostat, but I have to keep putting coolant in every week. What can I do? All right, most of those Focuses are long gone with over 185,000 miles on it. If you don't see it leaking anywhere, odds are the head gasket's blowing. I have a video for that, how to tell if your head gasket is blown, Scotty. Watch that on YouTube. You can see how to test it. You can buy that testing equipment at Amazon for $30 or so and do the test yourself. Now, if it's not that, and pray it's not that, watch my video, how to fix an overheating car engine, Scotty. That'll give you every possible test to see what could possibly be wrong. I'm sometimes a betting man, and on that one, I'll bet you the head gasket's starting to go with that mileage on it. Most of them didn't even last that long. California Guy 21 says, I want a station wagon. Which of these do you think would be more reliable? 2008 Subaru Outback 2.4 with 160,000 miles with a 4-speed automatic or a 5-speed manual. A 2008 to 12 Volvo XC70 with a 3.2 non-turbo, say 100,000 miles with a 6-speed, or a 2005 Volvo XC70 with 200,000 miles with a 5-speed automatic for $5,000. All right. Well, out of those, I would basically say if you can find a Subaru Outback 2.5 that's got a 5-speed manual, buy it. Now, they're okay, a 2008, with an automatic, but that's the weak point, and that's the parts that are going to go out. And you do say 160,000 miles, so I would not buy one with an automatic. But if it was a 5-speed manual Subaru, go right ahead and buy it. They can last a really long time. If you found a non-turbo XC70, those are also excellent cars, especially you mentioned the 6-speed, and they're pretty much bulletproof. That would be a very good vehicle too. Just decide which one of those you like better and get one. I wouldn't get the XC70 with 200,000 miles. That's too many miles. Things are going to wear out and you're going to have more expenses than you probably want. But you pick some decent ones to go with, and I understand you said Toyota or Honda. I can't find any, and yeah, they are hard to find. So out of those picks that you made, those are two really good picks for station wagons if you're getting them used. Ryan, Minnesota says, I live in Minnesota and I hate changing the oil on my 2009 Sienna because it's got one of those stupid cartridge oil filters where you got to take the whole plastic piece off. What do you think of this conversion kit? He's got a link to Baxter Performance. And let me tell you, that is the best one on the market. I have one and I've been trying it out and it is excellent. Now, it's not cheap, it's $100, but realize this thing is made out of great steel with the seals. It's going to last forever. And if you don't mind spending that money and want to take the filter on and off without messing with it, that is the best one on the market. They're excellent. They're solid made. You buy one, you get it, it's so hefty, you'll be impressed that you bought it. That's a very good idea. Then you don't have to deal with that plastic crap that cracks and breaks or sticks on. Then you'll have a regular oil filter and you're better off in the first place. You notice that even Toyota's shying away from that now. Most of their new cars go back to the old spin-ons because people didn't like them. They got mad and they realized you don't want to make your clientele mad. Andy Eastside says, have you ever done a fog lamp job for an '08 RAV4 from scratch? I bought a $30 kit from eBay. I can't find a video. They have connectors, but no installation. All right. Well, one thing you have to understand is fog lights are very simple. You got power and you got ground. So, the black wires are generally the ground. Your kit, I'm sure, has something, at least a wiring diagram. And the black goes to ground, the red goes to power. And then you just run the wires inside the car to some switch to turn them on and off. Fog lamps are very easy. Now, you said you paid $30 for the kit. It's going to be a pretty cheap kit. I mean, if it's glass and lights and all the wiring, it's a pretty cheap kit. And I'd be leery about it lasting very long. But they're very simple to install. You just need to rig power and listen to me. Don't listen to any of these. Oh, you can splice it. Don't splice the wire system in. The power wire, run it directly off the positive terminal of your battery. Then you're not going to mess with the wiring harness of the car. Don't try to splice it inside the car off fuses. You can destroy the car. You run it off the battery, you're not going to hurt it as long as that wire's got a fuse on it. I'm sure the kit comes with a fuse. If it doesn't, buy an inline fuse at AutoZone or something for $5 and put a fuse in it, because you don't ever want to hook anything like that up unfused. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.